Alright, hello lads and lasses, and welcome back to Boys Down Under, where today we have a lot, well not a lot, but we certainly have, in the words of Joe Hart, a decent amount of transfer news to talk about. Before we go any further though, if you guys are enjoying these videos and you want to help support the channel, the best way to do so, click that like button, click the subscribe button, aiming for 3,000 subscribers before Ange ball returns. So if you do want to help the channel hit that mark, well, you know the best way to do so. But without further ado, let's get into it now. The two centre-backs Celtic are interested, ironically, both from Manchester City. And I have to say, Celtic and Manchester City, we've had our fair share of transfers, I'd say, in modern times, you know. We go hand in hand, some would say, you know. Georgia Samaras, Patrick Roberts, Jeremy Frimpong, Dedrick Boyata, Jason Denayer, Daniel Arzani, Olivier Encham, and who can forget John Guidetti? I mean, I could probably easily forget John Guidetti, but you know, those first few months were pretty decent. Regardless, Man City has had very good relations with Celtic recently when it comes to transfers. And with the appointment of Mark Lowell as our head of scouting, who previously worked as head of scouting within the City Football Group, those relations can only improve when it comes to dealing with transfers, and Celtic have been linked with two centre-backs who are contracted to Manchester City. Now, the two lads in question are Taylor Harwood-Bellis and a lad that I covered in yesterday's video, Ko Itakura. Now, the links emerged in Sky Sport report saying that Celtic were keeping tabs on both players, with Ange wanting to bolster his centre-back positions. Now, Harwood-Bellis, he was projected as a wonder kid, you know. He has represented England's youth at every age group since under-15s up to under-21s. I think he captained the under-20 side at the under-20 Euros, I believe. You know, he's 20 years old, stands at 188 centimetres tall. He's represented City on a few occasions, you know, most notably being against Dynamo Zagreb in the Champions League. But more importantly, he's been seeing consistent game time on loan at places that include Blackburn, Anderlecht, and Stoke in the second half of this season, which has seen him really start to mature. But since the youth, he's been extremely high rated. Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola labelled him as an exceptional human being. And while it's more than likely that Celtic would approach this deal with a loan deal in mind, you know, making a play for Harwood-Bellis in any circumstances is extremely appealing. You know, he's a no-nonsense centre-back who has the maturity of a 30-year-old at 20 years old. You know, for someone his age, that is absolutely, you know, it's something that all managers look for in their centre-backs. And just bringing him on loan for a season, you know, that could easily, and so it could really bolster the depth in this squad and reinforce it. You know, if he does well, who's to say that, you know, he can't make an impression on the starting 11, and who's to say Celtic can't sign him permanently? You know, and as for Ko Itakura, you know, I won't go into him too much because of the way of how I did yesterday's video. If you want to go check that out, I'll link it above right now. But I went in depth about Ko Itakura because, you know, but to get the gist of him, you know, he's a ball-playing centre-back, somewhat, you know, ball-playing centre-backs. What more can I say? Completely fits the mould of an Ange ball centre-back. You know, he's a quality player. He's experienced, not to the point where he's old, but he's been in the game for quite a few years. He'll bring quality, experience, depth, and he's certainly a player that Manchester City, I feel, will be wanting to get off their books. Now, whether this is Schalke making the deal permanent or his future lies at Celtic, we don't know. Now, if you're unaware on the situation, he's been on loan this season at Schalke and has become a fan favourite at the club. Now, they have an option to buy him for £4.5 million, but they're struggling to gather the funds to make this deal permanent. And Celtic are actually monitoring the situation, as we were linked with him at the beginning of this season. And, you know, I think it's very likely that if Schalke pull out, I think we could expect to see Celtic make a play for Ko Itakura. Now, I got to say, I have no preference. You know, really both players. You've got Harwood-Bellis, who he just looks like a player for the future. He looks like a player for the future and someone we could really help develop at Celtic. And as for Ko Itakura, he looks like someone Celtic could sign permanently and could, he's going to be one of those players who will try and force his way into the starting 11 if he is signed. And I'm sure Harwood-Bellis goes the same for him, but I think it's more likely that going for someone like Ko Itakura would be more beneficial for Celtic, because someone like Harwood-Bellis, if we do get Carter Vickers on a permanent deal, how that's one starting centre back role gone, and the other's already occupied by Starfelt. So unless he's having shockers, it will be up to him or Welsh to fight for that other spot. I'm not sure he's going to want to come somewhere where he's going to have to, really fight for that spot because of how young he is. I think he's more concerned right now about getting more consistent minutes. So that's my take on it. I feel Celtic would be more inclined to go for someone like Ko Itakura, but they're both such talented players. They're both such talented centre-backs. I won't be complaining if we bring either one in, to be honest with you. And yeah, sure, they're both like... they're both going to be depth players, but like I said, they're going to have to fight for the spot regardless. And as we're all aware, no one in Ange's team is a definitive starter. Maybe bar Callum McGregor, Captain Cal, sorry. I think apart from him, I don't think anyone in the starting 11 has their spot guaranteed, And look, at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to Mark Lowell's contact list. That's going to come in a lot of handy, but if we do pursue either lad, I don't think we're not going to hear any complaints from me, at least. Now on to another wonder kid, this time one of Celtic's wonder kids, Karamoko Dembele. He was hailed as a future Ballon d'Or winner when he played against under-20s as a 13-year-old, but now he's set to leave the club as a free agent. As reported by the Daily Record, they believe Karamoko's time at Celtic is all but over, and whether that is from Celtic not offering him a new contract or him refusing a new contract, who knows. Regardless, all we know is that this year he was touted to have a breakout year in the Celtic jersey, under Ange. He looked good in pre-season, but he unfortunately copped a nasty injury from a tackle that should never happen in pre-season. But once he finds fitness again, all the wing spots are already taken up. He's way well down the pecking order. And, he certainly, I think I can honestly say, if this is the end, he did not live up to the hype. And that's just me being honest, But we can't fault him, I don't think. I think he's had a lack of opportunities. Don't know why injuries this year, but other years maybe he just wasn't, putting the hard yards in training. Who knows? But regardless, he certainly hasn't lived up to the hype. But we've got to remember, he's still only 19, He's not... There shouldn't be a criticism of Dembele, of Wee Karamoko. He's still got his whole career ahead of him. People forget, because of how early he arrived on the scene and how young he did, people forget he's still a young lad. If I ask someone, people will probably be convinced he's already in his 20s. But he still is only 19, and if you ask me, I think we can expect to see him sign elsewhere. I think that is almost a given, but with Celtic expected to sign another winger in this upcoming transfer window, I don't see a place for Dembele, even if he did decide to stay. I'm not opposed to him staying by any means, but I think signing a 1-year extension isn't going to really do his career any good, and I think it's best for both parties if he does go move on to somewhere else where he can hopefully kickstart the young, promising career he's been projected to have. Thirdly and finally, surprisingly, now this has completely caught me off guard. Celtic are in the market for a striker. A striker. Even with Kyogo and Giacomarcus and Dyson Maeda who can play through the middle, Ange wants a fourth first-team striker. It seems extremely overkill, but hey-ho. Reports are saying that Ange is looking at Ferencváros' striker, Ryan Mmae. Now, Mmae, he played both legs against Celtic in the Europa League, didn't score once, so interpret that as you will. If he can't score against the champions of Glasgow, will he be able to cut it out in the Scottish Premiership? But still, he had a very good strike rate this year in the Hungarian league, finishing equal fourth top goal scorer. And he could be a handy depth player, don't get me wrong. I could certainly see him, hopping into a Celtic jersey and just being there on the bench every week in, week out. But at first, it just seems like overkill in my eyes. You know, Giacomakis, Kyogo, Daisen Maeda. We're taking a Yeti off the list. You know, Johnny Kenny, even Joey Dawson, you know. But, like, I think there's enough depth there. I think you know, people will bring up the argument, what about the time this season when both Kyogo and Giacomakis were injured? Yeah, it was a struggle, and I do get that, and I do understand that, you know, Daisen Maeda, he isn't best suited to the striker role. So I can understand why Celtic are in the market, but, you know, I would probably... See, I know Ange wants to make the impact in Champions League, and I know we have the money, and I don't know why I'm complaining, to be honest, because extra depth, you can't complain about extra depth, but I think I have a soft spot for wanting to see our youth product shine. You know, I want to see Joey Dawson in the starting lineup. I want to see Johnny Kenny. We haven't seen anything of Johnny Kenny. I want to see him, you know, show us what he's got, you know, but you guys know I will never, ever, you know, doubt Ange's decision. If he wants a fourth striker, then God, yes, bring one in. Without a doubt, Ryan Mmae, welcome to Celtic. But just instinctively and initially reacting to this news, I just have my queries, you know, that maybe you guys don't feel the same way, but personally for me, seems a bit overkill. That's the term I'm using a lot, but I do see the arguments, and I see they are very strong arguments for bringing in another striker like Ryan Mmae, someone who isn't a guaranteed starter, but someone who can provide that handy depth. So that's just my take on it, but that is all from me. So if you guys did enjoy this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave in the comments below who would you rather see? Would you rather see Taylor Harwood, I forgot his name already, Harwood-Bellis join the club, or would you rather see Ko Itakura join the club as a depth centre back? And what are your takes on all the other topics as well? You know, the Karamoko and this news of Celtic wanting another strike. But regardless, that is all from me. So until next time, hail, hail.